This video is about my latest pattern release, the Memory Keeper Shawl, which is this one. It's big, I know. So this is what I came up with when I wanted to create something wonderful to use your scraps on. You can use scraps, mini skeins, smaller skeins, whatever you have that's not big enough for something on its own, but that's lovely enough that you don't want to throw away. So this is for all those fiber memories that you have, so you can create a knitted scrapbook of your memories. What you need for this, to knit it as big as this one, is 2 skeins of fingering weight neutral colored yarn. I used an undyed wool base by Aurinkokehra, and it was like a pale gray color. Let's see if you can pick it up from there. So this is knit using 2 strands throughout. One is always your neutral background color. So I used a pale gray undyed wool. Others have used dyed gray, darker shade of gray, or a white one. I think one of my test knitters had. Yeah, I recommend like a neutral solid color. And then it just depends if you want a soft muted look, if you want your colors to pop more. If a lot of your scraps are gray, why not use a colorful, like a blue or a pink, whatever. Just, I think solid color is the way to go with there. So you need, I used 2 skeins, so that's about 718 meters, 785 yards of that background color. And then you need an equal amount of scraps. And I know you can't, it's difficult to calculate the yardage of your scraps, so I just weighed mine. I knew I had 200 grams of the solid color, so I just measured until I had 200 grams of scraps. And I used a 5mm needle, and that creates quite dense fabric. So it still has some drape. It's, of course, it's not dense, but it's not see-through. So if you use 2 fingering weight yarns together, that'll be like a DK weight yarn. And so yeah, 5mm US 8 needles. I definitely recommend using a circular needle with a long circular needle, like 100 centimeter cable. How much is that then? 40 inches? Just because the last rows are long, and if you have them scrunched up on a shorter needle, it's not going to be fun. I also used 2 stitch markers to mark my central spine. If you want, you can also use stitch markers to mark out the edge stitches. This one has I-cord edges all around. So it has an I-cord tab cast on. The edge stitches are always done in I-cord. And then you do an I-cord bind off. So I wanted the pattern to be easy to knit and relaxing to knit, and I wanted it to be potentially something that you can knit on whenever you get a new scrap. So you finish a shawl, another shawl, you continue using the ends of that. This one, you get a mini skein from your friend and you want to add it here, you can pick it up. So it's not difficult to figure out where you are at the pattern. Also something that you can knit on while you're watching TV or at a knit night with friends. Plus I wanted like your memories to be the focal point. the different yarns used and not the stitch pattern or pattern. So this one has some eyelets, some stockinette, and some seed stitch. I personally really enjoy knitting seed stitch. I love the fabric it creates, and I find it really meditative to be just a really meditative stitch to knit. The textural interests in the shawl also make it not boring to knit. And this is somewhat adaptable, just because the nature of a scrap shawl is that sometimes you just run out of yarn or have more than what the pattern staged. So at the very edge of the shawl, bottom edge, you have a garter stitch stripe, and you can repeat that as few or as many times as you want. The last rows use up a lot of yarn because they're so long. So even if you have a whole bunch of extra yarn, it won't make the edge too wide. Also, one of my test knitters was surprised to find that her yarn did not. It was like an old skein or old pile of yarn that she had, and she wasn't sure of the yardage. So she bound hers off, or did the garter stitch border and bound it off after the third repeat, so somewhere here. It's still a nice sized shawl. So there are a lot of options to modify this to your yardage, which also means that the gauge is not that important in this one, as you can modify it. And as for how to arrange your scraps, there are endless options, I think. I chose to go with a sort of a gradient from pinks into blues, but you could do something similar. So you could do them in a gradient, or you could make sure that you do like a light color and darker color and lighter color and darker color yarns with contrast, or colors with contrast with one another, to get a striped effect on the shawl. You could go random, just pick blindly when and knit it in here. Or you can, if you have a lot of scraps, you could just do all blues. Really, the options are endless. You can go with whatever, and the shawl will look like you, because it's yarn that you've already chosen before and knit on something else before. Like a color, like your color story, I guess, what I'm looking for here. And yes, so you can change your scrap yarn at any point, at the end of a row or even mid-row. Just change it. I did some of this. I think I even changed one like mid bind off. Let's see. Yeah, there. You can see I've changed from this slightly variegated into this more solid. So at any point, really, you can just change your scrap and keep your background color constantly on your side. So I'm really thrilled with this shawl, and I hope you love it as much as I do. It's now available on Ravelry, so go check it out there. And I look forward to seeing your versions of this shawl, and it's so interesting to see the different color schemes that people use. Thank you so much for watching. Happy knitting. Bye.